Hello, here we are painting plein air in oils with the French easel, the Julian French easel, and we're on Gwithian Beach. Put that up there. Around sort of 9:30, 10 in the morning this is. Before the school holiday, so it's fairly quiet. But as you'll see later, it does get busier, so we didn't stay for too long. Today I decided to do a panoramic. Did the panoramic painting today. Good to go. So that means it's wider than it is taller. The board, piece of plywood. It measures about 50 centimeters by 20 centimeters approximately. And here's a quick view of the palette I was using that day and the selection of the colours. The usual suspects, all laid out in the same way each time, and with some terps and a little dipper at the side. And with a green, dark green, grey green ground colour I put on, which had thoroughly dried, so it was ready to go. Right, now we're on to this. Let's see if we can get this. The problem with this is, I think we're going to have to go across there. And this is not a format I paint on too often. So I was having a few little initial problems working out where to just put the horizon line. Apologies for the wind noise. Depend on the position of the mic. Quite a few colours already made up from that little sketch I did. And obviously we've done a sketch earlier on, and I'll put a link to that in the top right corner if you'd like to see that video. So we did the sketch in oils on paper first, just as a warm-up, and then we moved into this panoramic painting, and this is one, and obviously I finished this in the studio later, which you'll see if you watch the full video. You'll see the studio piece at the end. So we're just feeling our way around the painting at the moment, some sort of violet and greys and sort of a pinky colour, which was quite bright sand. I don't for this, something like this, didn't need to draw anything out. It gets greyer over there. It's just a case of blocking in things and just working your way around it. That's how I work anyway. Just introducing something a bit warmer there. You can hear the sun martins flying around. Oh, that's not very nice, is it? We'll see what that looks like when I put it on. Put that down here. That's alright. Not always easy to tell on your palette. You're better off just putting it on the painting and see what it looks like against the colours you already got on there. It's nothing like it, but it's alright. So on the palette, it's quite deceiving. Let's try and get some of these bits of at the back there. So that's that reflection. That should really have come down a bit more. Just mixing up some sort of greeny greys to go into the sea. Just marking in the sea, some sort of colour to work on top of as we go through the painting. Somebody taking it easy on the sand there. And also building up some of the areas just in the background. I mean, nothing too strong. As you can see in the video behind, look there, the headland over towards Carbis Bay. It's quite greyed out. And nice colour of the rocks down there. We're working wet into wet now, because obviously we've covered the whole board. But one thing thing I did need to do was just introduce some stronger colours in the foreground and some darks, just to give me something to work against with the lighter areas of the sand. It's quite a nice spot to work at, and I think I'll definitely return there, but probably a bit earlier in the morning. There's less people and dogs around. Woohoo! This is as far as we got today. I think we've had enough, and I think we've had enough for today. We're going to go back. It's coffee time, so time to pack up, and I'll carry on with this one in the studio, and we'll film that, and we'll see how it progresses, or if I bin it. And after that, fantastic morning out on the beach. Although I think it's the Red Arrows were practicing above our heads, ready for the G7. We decided to call it a day and head back into the studio. And this is where I continued the painting in the studio after it dried for 2 or 3 weeks. And we'll follow along now and we'll see how we get on. So with the surface of the painting completely dry, now it's easy to layer over the top and use your scumbling techniques, and this gives you a lot of flexibility with the painting now, rather than just working purely alla prima. And this is how I do prefer to work, so a lot of my outdoor paintings, which are done in one session, so alla prima, wet into wet techniques, often get reworked in the studio. Not all of them, but quite a fair percentage do. And this is the sort of process I work through. So it just means you can, because my painting is all about the light. I really love light, and subtle contrasts, and I just find I can't get that when I'm just painting alla prima outdoors. I do find it easier to get these effects I like when I'm layering up over several sessions. I mean, this painting was done in 2 sessions, so you had the session outside to get all the information, and then the session inside, this one, which I had the small reference photo on my phone from the morning, and just a lot of imagination as well. So you're making the painting work as a painting rather than copying it as a photograph, because the camera's already done that job for you. So there's no point in my eyes, even the work I'm doing, there's just no point in painting like photographically anymore. I just don't want it to be doing that. And as the painting comes around to the left there, you see the dunes, so they're a bit warmer in the sun, and the hill over towards the back there, Scarby's Bay area, is bluey grey to take it back into the distance. And you see quite a warm, nice bright warm area of sand which runs right across there. So there is a little inlet in there which is called Porth Kidney, and goes down in towards Hale. When the tide's out, it looks like a continuous area of sand and beach. And that's Carby's Bay going towards St Ives. I'm just marking in with the rigger brush with some off-whites. And the paint is starting to take shape now. I've got the feeling of that bright morning when we were there, and the movement of the surf just rolling in, and I thought it was time to introduce a few figures into the painting now, which I'm starting to do more and more now. Basically with the rigger brush, what I'm doing is I'm actually painting onto wet paint now, but using the rigger you can load it up with paint and just marking some impressions of figures. So we're not painting in heads, arms and legs, because once you start doing that, if I did that in that area, that means everything in front of it would have to be even more detailed, and then I'm starting to paint in lots of details I don't really want to be doing. So you just make some marks to indicate figures in the hazy morning sunlight. If you make a little error like I did there, you just get your palette knife and take it off and mark something else in. It's a case of just marking things in and seeing what they look like. If it's not what you want, you just take them out again with a palette knife and paint over them. The main thing is not to be too precious about what you're painting, and accept that you're going to make errors and mistakes that you don't want in there. You just take them off if it's not working. It's not a big problem. There's the flexibility of that rigger. Look, you can push it through the paint, and because it's a very light brush with long bristles, it doesn't dig up too much of the wet paint underneath, whereas like a hard bristle brush would dig through the paint if you're pushing it in. So it's just different brushes with different techniques and times of the painting. This is a slower part of the painting. We're slowing down, just making these little marks here and there, just to give it a bit more interest for the viewer. A few stones here and there, and darker areas of sand where the tide has come in and left its marks as it's gone back out again. At high tide, all this where we were standing, that view, from that viewpoint, is actually all underwater. So the tide comes in quite a long way. You can see where the seaweed is on the rocks there. So that's usually all underwater at high tide. But if you follow my work on Instagram and Facebook, you'll know I paint a lot here. I do a lot of painting on this beach, so I'm starting to know it quite well now. And so see, we started to build up quite a nice bit of texture in the paint surface on the board. It's this nice smooth plywood board with a good heavy ground colour layer, the plein layer, and now with this layer on top, so the texture is starting to come nicely now. So this stage of just painting the figures may have took me an hour, just gently fiddling around with it till I was happy with what I've got. So you paint them in, paint them out, paint them back in again. It's just the way it is. It's just like constantly reworking and until you got what you wanted. And the palette knife can come in just the final little touches on the top, which is very delicate, that's just something the brush can't do. Just nicking out little areas here and there and then scraping through. Look, you get a feeling of what the painting needs towards the end by standing back and having a look at it from a bit more of a distance. If you're just sitting on top of it all the time like this, you can't really get a true sense of what it's looking like, because when it's hanging on somebody's wall, they're going to be, probably chances are they'll be at least 10-12 feet away from it when they're looking at it. So just stand back a decent distance every so often, reassess where you're at, go back in and make the necessary adjustments after looking at it from a good distance away. Just wipe the brush off, stand back and have a look and see what we've got. And that was what we came up with in the end. So I think it did get everything I wanted, representing a nice bright sunny morning on the beach. Thanks for watching, and see you later.